Hi everyone, I'm happy to see everyone back today. Thank you for joining me. This is Kirk Erickson, your personality expert. Today we have a very special guest. This is my great friend Kim O'Neill. She is a transformational confidence coach. She has been a professional for 6+ years. I'm happy to share today Enneagram and the Myers-Briggs and how it relates with our careers. Stay tuned. Thanks again for joining me, everyone. This is my great friend Kim O'Neill. Can you please discuss further about what it is that you do?
Yes, thank you so much for having me here today, Kirk.
Of course.
So my name is Kim O'Neill. I'm a transformational confidence coach and also host of the Every Day is a New Day podcast and live show. And if you want to find me on Facebook, I'm at Kim O'Neill Coaching, and on YouTube, it's also Kim O'Neill, the Every Day is a New Day show and coaching page. And it's really interesting, Kirk, because 6 years ago when I first started out coaching, I said, gosh, what am I passionate about? What can I do right now to really help people? And I identified that it was interview coaching, really helping them develop more confidence in their ability to interview for jobs confidently. And what's evolved over time has taken a whole life of its own I never anticipated, which allowed me to help people go way deeper into realizing that their confidence isn't simply about what you say on the surface. It's about who you are and how you connect to that from the inside out. And so the coaching work that I do today is transformational confidence coaching, helping people to feel confident in whether it be an employment interview setting, a podcast interview setting, or just everyday life, knowing that who they innately are and the passions that they have and all of that they're amazing, so they can feel deeply rooted and grounded in that regardless of what's happening around them. So absolutely love what I do today, and there are elements of healing that get incorporated into that, and it's been fun. I'm excited to see how things are going to continue to evolve over time.
Kim being here is so special to me, you guys. I just want everyone to know how important she's been and pivotal in my being here actually in front of you. She's done a little life coaching herself for me, some confidence training, if you will. And, for many years, Kim has known me and been on me about doing something with these personality types, with this body of research that I've done. And she knows how important it's been for me, and she's been prodding me. And finally, here we are. So her being an ENFP, I'm just going to cut right into the Myers-Briggs. It has something to do with her enthusiasm, her natural compassion, her ability to kind of get in people's shoes and know where it is they need to go, and helping them to establish themselves and following their dreams. Interestingly enough, I know Kim through her uncle, who was also an ENFP. The type isn't that common, I know, but there are actually a lot of ENFPs that really help to motivate others, whether they're in that career or not. It's just the way they are. They're inspirational people, champions of others. And John O'Neill, her uncle, God rest his soul, he unfortunately passed away, but he really helped to inspire me throughout my life. Since I was 16, I knew him. And he introduced Kim and I. He said, "You two will totally hit it off. I just know that when you guys meet, I know people," he said. "I know people, and when you guys meet, it'll just be a natural friendship." And it's been. We've known each other since we've been teenagers, and I could say that Kim is definitely one of my best friends. And again, being ENFP, it definitely kind of lends itself to the energy of being a people person, of seeing that potential, of helping others through that rapport to maybe find themselves even through that brainstorming, through that discussion, through that open communication. That's why Kim doing what she does, it's a perfect fit for ENFP. Kim, how is being an ENFP, how has that, as you understand it, helped you?
Yeah, well, I would say definitely starting back when I was a teenager, that was when I first became aware about ENFP and Myers-Briggs and all of those things. And what's really cool, because I've always been a lover of personality tests and things that can, tell me more about who I am. What I love about it is that it's one thing to know who you are and have the awareness of this is how I am, this is how I operate in the world. And it's another thing when you can take an assessment that really helps to clarify and say, yeah, we see that too. Yes, this is who you are. And if there's going to be a test out there that can sort of confirm that for you, or affirm for that for you, there's also this sense of relief that I feel a person can rest into, of going, oh, it's okay for me to be who I am. It's okay for me to, rest into that and let that sink in more. That's how I first remember perceiving personality tests when I was younger. And it's interesting to see how it's shown up in my life as I've gotten older. And I know we've talked about before how, even though I started out as an ENFP, like, I kind of feel like I've changed a little,
Right.
And sometimes, yeah, so.
We have to discuss that for sure, because when I took a class a few years ago to become certified, I learned some new things after doing all the research and analyzing and testing people over the years. I didn't know there's much more for me to learn, but there definitely is always something for us to learn. And what I learned, it makes complete sense, is we're along a continuum. So if you have two people that take this test, they're usually, let's say, for instance, they both come out ENFPs, but one has more for the extrovert and the other is almost balanced but slightly extroverted. Doesn't mean that one that came out slightly extroverted is less extroverted than the one that answered more extroverted questions. It's just their comfort level in being that. I myself have always answered almost equally on extrovert and introvert, but I definitely have an introverted preference. I'm a people person, I'm comfortable interacting with others, but to get my energy, I prefer having that downtime or that privacy. I'm plugged in to my inner world. Now, Kim, she's mentioned before being these days somewhat coming out a little more introverted or even a little more judging. So let me go through extroverted for ENFP, intuitive, feeling, perceiving. So Kim has felt these days slightly introverted as well, and slightly judging as opposed to perceiving. Now, does that mean that Kim is not an ENFP? It most definitely means that those are the traits she's born with. But all of us, because we're along a continuum, it's very helpful to develop and to adapt to our surroundings. Maybe she's getting more introspective, which is a wonderful thing for all of us, especially extroverts. And judging really helps. And I don't mean judgmental, I mean judicial. I mean someone that likes things organized. I mean, let's face it, to get things done, it helps to have some of that J. I generally don't identify with J. I think this is why it's taken me so long to bring this information out. But Kim, fortunately, as a life coach, making a plan, following through on it, even though she's perceiving, she sees the merit in that and has been able to adapt herself. So when she takes tests, she might come out even on them. Doesn't mean that she's not P. It just means she's been adapting. So that's the beauty of us kind of understanding not only our set of traits, but that pretty much we incorporate and embody all of them, just to varying degrees. And hopefully, I think that the ideal would be that all of us have kind of a balance in the way that we express these things or incorporate them into our lives, regardless of which letters come out. So anyway, it's been kind of a beautiful journey to see that. And having Kim here, it's so appropriate because, again, she's been someone that has seen my journey for more than half my life, and she knows how important this is to me, and to see that she's also incorporated these things, it's kind of full circle. And
Kirk, may I speak to the J?
Yes.
I love that you're talking about how it's okay for us to shift and that's somewhat normal over time. And I love that you also said J doesn't necessarily mean she's judgmental, because I think a lot of us, our minds can go to that, right?
Sure.
The way that I'll say perceive it, right? The P part. The way that I perceive it is and I've seen it too, is more of that J coming in. To me, it feels more like structure. Is how have I incorporated more structure into my life? And how does that allow me to be able to let my P side flourish and grow and actually be productive because I've got the structure built in? And that's something I'm very aware I'm also still working on too.
The productive P.
The productive P, I like it. So in case that resonates for anybody out there, that if you're resistant to going, oh, I don't want to be a J, what if you say it's a J structure?
Right, it's a J. And another thing is, perceiving is also misleading. It doesn't mean that J people are not perceptive. I mean, this is a whole nother discussion that we will be having that we'll touch upon more in the future. But I do want to basically describe what we mean by a perceiving and a judging. So the perception types are the intuitive and the sensate. All of us have those within us, but which one is dominant? Okay, the judging types, basically how do we make decisions? That's through thinking and feeling, and obviously all of us have those to varying degrees, and we each have, of course, have a preference. So we're talking about preferences, but we also, all of us have a perceptive type. And do we use that perception more through our five senses, the sensate, which 70% of us tend to, or is it more the intuitive, the conceptualizing, and how those five senses are acted upon, and how we incorporate those things maybe in a broader context? So in essence, a perceiver, someone that has a P, doesn't mean that they're more perceptive. In fact, the dominant perceptives would be your introverted intuitive, your extroverted intuitive, and your introverted sensate and your extroverted sensate. Now, again, all of us, and I'll describe this later or go into much more detail. I don't want to get in too much right now with this, but in essence, these are your dominant perceptive aspects, and they're in different order within each of us. We have a dominant, so I am an INFP, for instance, so I am a dominant introverted feeler, and it's supported by auxiliary. That's my next strongest in the stack up, would be extroverted intuitive. And then we go on to our tertiary. This is not as well developed, but it is a support. That's my introverted sensate. And my most dormant, I would say my shadow side, is my extroverted thinking. So again, I will talk about these stack ups later, but this is a little more kind of a discussion at this point about perception and judgment. So just to clarify, because I don't want people to think, okay, well, this type, they're P, so they're more perceptive. Not necessarily. Obviously, that's a very personal thing. We have so many more things that go into that. But Kim, I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you.
For you to be sharing this moment with me. And
may I share one more thing?
Please share all you like.
just along, and it was just coming up as you're talking. The aspect of me initially identifying that I'm an E, but over time feeling more like I'm an I. I think this will really speak to those people who are empathic or maybe very aware of their energy. Something I've noticed for me is as I've gotten older and become more aware of my own energy and how I'm expending energy, where's my energy being utilized, so much more aware and in tune of, oh wow, of how I can take better care of myself to replenish my energy. And I think that to some degree, that's where I feel the I comes in. Sure. And the more that I have been putting myself out there and doing things, it becomes so much more clear how much I have to take care of myself. And so there are times that I know a lot of people, they may only see the things that I do where I'm putting myself out there, and yet on the flip side of that is me going, okay, I can't. Now it's really all about being. Who am I being, and how am I taking care of myself and honoring that? And so for me, if that resonates for anybody, that's where this feeling like I feel like I'm kind of a 50-50 I and E comes into place. Right. And so in case that helps anybody else.
And another thing, because this is names of our universe, and I want to discuss the Enneagram as well, and even astrology. I know numerology is part of this. We will get into that in the future. But right now we will discuss more intimately about not just the Myers-Briggs, which is the nature of a personality we're born with, but the Enneagram and the behavior. Kim is a type 2 on the Enneagram. She's a helper. And boy, is she. That's what she does. And that's what she's been to all those that know her. She's very big-hearted. And the part of a helper, when they're healthy, they really, it's not just about giving and expecting something in return, like having others acknowledge that they're that good, loving person, but it's truly being comfortable with helping without any strings attached. Kim basically thrives on seeing others grow. That helps her when she sees that, because she knows she's following her dream, she's doing her mission, and basically living out the purpose that she has. Type 2, I haven't touched upon this before, but type 2, as do each of the 9 types, have two other types that they go into when they're feeling stress or secure. Now, the stress point for a type 2 or Kim would be type 8. So under stress, when they're frustrated, basically maybe at their worst even, that negative side of 8 can come out, which is Kim being a loving teddy bear can have a grizzly bear inside. So it's basically the buck stops here. I'm not taking crap anymore. You don't appreciate me. I'm doing all this work for nothing. And all of a sudden the anger, the top boils over. But I want everyone to know, just because that's her stress point doesn't mean that 8 can't work to her benefit as well, because that is an aspect of her. So sometimes she's able to draw that line in the sand and say, you know what? I'm not going to be taking this abuse. I'm not going to be a doormat. I'm no longer going to be codependent. I need to set that boundary. And that's where the 8 comes in as well. Now, type 4 is her security point, and this is the introspection. This is the introversion. I myself am type 4, and type 2 is my stress point. That's for another time. Essentially, type 2 going to 4 is a great move, because rather than being so focused on other, how can I be there for you? What is it that I can do for you? And wearing themselves thin sometimes, it's now looking within. It's getting in touch with that artistic side, or getting in touch with their visions and dreams. And Kim has all of those artistic things that she's incorporated. I've seen her poetry. It's beautiful. So essentially, when she delves into that resource, it allows her to not only introspect and be at peace, but it helps her to bring something back to others, something beautiful that can help others kind of be a phoenix rising from the ashes. So she definitely has that 4 aspect in her. That's the introverted, the introspection. So this is how the Myers-Briggs and the Enneagram work together, play off each other. Kim is a Libra. She's one of the 50% or so, I would say, that actually fit her sign. ENFP2 is a spitting image of Libra, because this is a natural people person. And type 2, you see yourself in relation to other. ENFP, outgoing Libra, social person, very much a good fit. Just on a side note, it can be also somewhat of a Leo, that sunny disposition, that smiling, that expressive, that sharing the bounty of the heart. All of that can be the positive aspect of Leo as well. Anyway, Kim is a beautiful, wonderful person that I'm so glad to have here, an ENFP2 Libra. But more important than all of those things, because we don't want to pigeonhole, I just want people to know, after giving 3,500 people these tests, there was a time in my life, as a teenager especially, that I did pigeonhole, or that I might make a judgment like, oh, I like this type or don't like that one. It's tempting to do that sometimes. Please don't, because I know a lot of ENFP2s, even Libras, that aren't nearly as cool as Kim. And it doesn't have to always do with your type. There's her values, there's her health, there's so many things, of course, that go into who we are. This is a platform. It's a great beginning to start to get into who it is that we are, to start introspecting, to start going along that journey. That's what Names of Our Universe is about. It's about incorporating our soul type, if you will, and finding ourselves. So I thank you again, Kim, for being here.
Don't say anything yet. Don't move. So right now, I want you to ask her, have you ever been to a bar and someone was ask you, what's your sign?
Right, okay.
Have that conversation.
Okay, right now?
Yeah.
Kim, have you ever been to a bar and have anyone ask you, what's your sign?
You know what, Kirk? I don't think I have, actually. But that's
I've never asked that line. I'm not one for lines, but I know people do.
I would, if someone did that to me, I would probably start laughing, and at the same time, I would equally be, well, okay, what's your sign?
And you would need to say, look, I need my friend Kirk here to find out your true astrological sign.
That is very possible, yes. But I love what you were just saying about not pigeonholing people, because that's very important to me too, is not wanting to stereotype, not wanting to pigeonhole people. And yet I have to admit, there have been certain experiences I've had with certain people where I notice I can have a tendency to go, ooh, okay, maybe, that's one too many, right? So like maybe just stay away from that type. But what you say is so true. Not everyone is the same, and I completely agree with that. So I love that. I also liked how you were talking about the different, I guess the shadow side, but also the different defaults we might roll over into, right? So you said I'm a 2, but I can become an 8 or a 4.
Right.
And how that speaks to coaching is about learning how to be balanced within who you are.
Right.
And the more we do take care of ourselves, it's easier to be balanced and have healthy boundaries and all of that. So it was really interesting to see how that all plays together.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. And another thing, wings. We didn't discuss that. Of course, it's something I will expand upon later. But what's said a lot of times is 60 to 70% of us essentially have one specified wing. Again, both are part of us. So Kim being a 2 would either be a preferred 1 wing or a 3 wing. And a lot of times it changes throughout people's lives. But what I've known of Kim is a bit more of the 1 wing, a bit more of a purposefulness, the ability to be disciplined, to follow through on something. Not that 3s aren't that way, but 2 or 3 tends to be kind of share their social charms, if you will, and the bounty of who they are, whether it's singing, dancing, cooking. Not that Kim isn't that upbeat person, because she definitely is, but she has this purposefulness of the 1 that tends also to be more introspective in general, and maybe even more of a serving sort, definitely sacrificing some of the things maybe they want for themselves in order to be there for others. So 2 with 1, they call it the servant. 2 with 3, the hostess. She definitely has both attributes. What I've known of Kim is 2 with 1, but I think that she's incorporated the 3 quite often as well, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. I love that you brought that up, and that to me just brings me right back to the more we learn about ourselves and where we might be imbalanced, nothing's wrong with it, but if I notice that I do start to self-sacrifice a little more, and then that resentment, right? That can start to come up when
Don't be aggressive, be assertive, right?
Yeah. Well, and so it's like the more you get in tune with, oh, this is how I'm responding, but how did I contribute to this? And so I actually had some of that happen recently, and I had to go, wait a second. Okay, right. If I'm starting to feel a sense of imbalance or resentment, then where am I overgiving? Where am I overgiving? This isn't necessarily about anybody else outside of me. Where am I overgiving? And so how can I actually give more to myself right now?
Right.
Because that's where everything's really coming from. And so learning to be in tune with that really helps us to, moderate ourselves and where we allow our thoughts to go, right? And the beliefs we start to create about other people and things, realizing, oh, wait a second, I contributed to this though. How,
For sure.
So...
And it sounds like you've used a lot of your life coaching and your confidence building skills for yourself. It's not just not being a hypocrite.
Always, you have to.
You have to learn that, and that. Not to say the 3 wings won it. I'm not putting down 2s with 3s. I'm just saying, in my experience, 2 with 1s tend to be predisposed to being analytical of themselves or to being hard on themselves. So I know that she's like, wait a second. I'm doing this for others. What am I doing for myself? Am I following my own advice?
Yes.
I know that about Kim. So it's an awesome thing. And I'm going to switch up something real quick just because it's on my mind. I don't want to forget. Libra. People that are Libra. I heard some things about Libra recently from someone that said, oh my God, every Libra guy I've known, they've had an eye for other women, they're cheaters, blah, blah, blah. And there are YouTube channels I've heard where they constantly badmouth different signs. And they're fun. They're fun to watch. But it's not accurate in the least. My dad is a Libra. He doesn't look Libra at all. He's actually a Scorpio rising. He looks Scorpio. And he acts Scorpio. He's definitely not a social butterfly. God love him. My dad's a great guy. But he's very intense. And he has that kind of smoldering, simmering, tough manliness. But yet he's very in touch with like a wellspring of passion and sensitivity and spirituality. I'm not putting down Libra and saying they're not that way. I'm just saying Libras are very concerned about how others are responding to them. Him, not so much. Again, not to put down on Scorpio. These are just generalities. So throw out what you know about, oh, I know a Libra or I know a Scorpio. Because again, that's only works for about half of us a lot of times. That's the beauty of getting to know ourselves and how it truly connects with our true astrological signs. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in and being here with my special guest today, Kim O'Neill.
Thank you so much, Kirk. It's been an honor to be here today and really connect with your audience. And I just want to remind everybody that remember that wherever you were yesterday does not have to be where you are today. Every day truly is a new day. And the one common thread through every episode I've done of the Every Day is a New Day show is that reminder that we all have the power of choice. And so I hope you will choose you. And thank you so much for allowing me to be here today and connect with you.
Thank you, Kim. It's an honor having you here. Again, everybody, thank you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below to Names of Our Universe. And on the next episode, join us for fire signs and how we're going to analyze that in correlation with the Enneagram and the Myers-Briggs. Thanks again.